Greetings and welcome to Bubble Hearthing. I'm Bubble and you're fantastic. And today we're going to be reviewing all of the blue cards for Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, the newest set coming to Magic the Gathering. It's coming to Arena on the 10th, which is tomorrow from where I am right now in time, and it's coming to paper and publicly released on the 18th. In between then, you'll have pre-releases. Just keeping in mind, this is probably going to be, you already know how long this video is going to be, it's already up there. It probably is going to be a longer one because there are just a lot of words. Literally, there's a lot of words to read in this set. In particular, all the sagas are double-faced, which makes them a better love saga than Twilight, but still, we had to get through them. So, we will begin promptly with Acquisition Octopus. We're already getting to a nice one. So, there's a new thing we're doing here. If you watch my review on the white cards, or hopefully I'm going to put up the video going over the mechanics of it, then you'll see that, you'll know what it is. But there are a few creatures and 3 equipments that are both. You have a 3 mana 2/2 artifact creature or equipment octopus. While this card is not equipped to a creature, it itself is a creature on its own. If it is equipped and attached to a creature, then it is an equipment. If the creature it is attached to dies, then it falls off and becomes a creature once again. So if you equip this to creature A and creature A is blown up, this is a creature now, right? Okay, hopefully that makes some sense. Kind of like how Bestow worked back in Theros Beyond Death. Okay. And also, the reconfigure cost is basically the equip cost, but you can also pay to unequip. Alright. Whenever Acquisition Octopus or the equipped creature does combat damage to a player, draw a card. 3 mana 2/2. It's okay. It's not all that interesting. It's kind of boring there, like a 1 out of 5 in standard. I'm sorry, 1 out of 5 in limited. And really like a 0 out of 5 in standard. Get out of here. Anchor to Reality. Okay, we're actually hitting a banger like pretty quickly, because this card is something. I do have an award that I give out to the card that I think is best in that color, or in this like grouping. This came close to it. The only reason I didn't do it is because I think there's one that's just better. That's how the award works. That's literally the definition of it. 4 mana, sorcery. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice an artifact or creature. Here's going to be a little bit of wording that might sound similar to some people that have played Magic back in the days of old. Search your library for an equipment or vehicle card. Put that onto the battlefield, then shuffle. It's pretty equipment or vehicle. It's narrow, but it's not that narrow. If it has mana value less than the sacrificed permanent's mana value, scry 2. We're going to ignore that scry 2. I think that didn't even have to be on the card for it to be pretty good, and it's already pretty damn good. This, if you're familiar, is Tinker. This is not exactly Tinker. This is Tinker for equipment or vehicles. But the way that is Tinker is you sack something. I think that Tinker also costs 4, maybe 3. I could be wrong there. And you put the card from a large card pool from your deck right onto the battlefield. Doesn't have to go into your hand. Doesn't matter. Your opponent counters this, or the thing is in there. You can just sacrifice a treasure token, by the way. Just saying, it's an artifact. That would work. Keep in mind on Arena that if you choose to sacrifice an artifact, you should sacrifice it and not tap it for not. You can sacrifice it to pay the cost for Anchor to Reality, and not necessarily sacrifice it for mana. Yeah, watch out, UI, UX, whatever. Just be careful with that. All right. In paper, obviously, you can just state what you're doing. But yeah, that's a hell of a card. Now, do I have an equipment or vehicle off the top of my head that I think would be great to just put into the battlefield? Well, how about something that's really expensive but maybe cheap to equip? That'd be pretty good, or like really costs a lot to play, but then when it enters the battlefield, it actually costs like not that much to crew. There's actually one vehicle in mind. I'm gonna scroll through right here and see. I don't actually have it linked in this immediately. I don't recall if it is in the blue cards either. It might just be colorless, but it's like a 7-drop that costs 1 to crew, and it's like, hey, guess what? You just crewed me. That's cool, dude. Where are you here? I'm going to find you. I know this isn't very professional. It's only the 2nd card, but I'm going to find it, and it's going to be part of this thing. Thundersteel Colossus is a 7 mana 7/7 with crew 2, a trample and haste. So for 4 mana and sacking, some offhanded creature or, whatever, you can put that into play. If you have a creature or creatures that total power 2 or more, you can immediately go through and hit like 7/7 trample haste. And the card's common. So the odds that you see that and this card, like, in a pack, this is uncommon. This is going to be something that you will likely run into in a draft or in a sealed thing. I want to pull it off. I want you to pull it off. I don't want the guy across from the table from you to pull it off, but be aware that they might pull it off. Yeah. And that's just with artifacts. There might be some equipment that are insane. By the way, those equipment creatures that we already just went over, there's some that are pretty decent. And guess what? This can put them on the battlefield. And stuff from other sets too. By the way, you know, if you're playing older formats, then yeah. This, I do solidly believe, could see play in, like, Legacy. I know that the pool of, you know, vehicles and equipment that are going to want to be tutored in are not very high, but you could do it, though. So, yeah, this card, I think, is crazy. And yet I think there's something better. I know, it's just, it's kind of obligatorily better, and I like it a lot, but I like this one, but I like the other one more. Yeah. So, yeah, actually, I just think, geez, even if this is like your... I wouldn't necessarily first pick this. Maybe I would. I don't know. In Limited, I think this card's fantastic. Like 4 out of 5. Maybe even more. In Standard, I'm just going to give it the full 5 out of 5. I just have to. After I talked that much, how can I not? Yeah. 5 out of 5. 5 out of 5. Okay. Armguard Familiar. Taking a step down from that one now. 2 mana artifact creature equipment beast. Beast. And it's a, it has ward 2, which is nice. Or you can reconfigure it, put it on something. Equipped creature gets +2/+1 and has ward 2. So you basically just give the whole stats and the ward 2, and you stick it on something else there. Oh, that's kind of cool. It's not bad at all. Say you had a 2 mana. I mean, you play for a creature and then equip for 4, and you pass that off. And then if the other creature dies, you still have this whole thing. Yeah, and to really remove this, you have to target the thing like, and you pay a whole bunch extra. Yeah, this is pretty. That's actually not bad at all. And Limited. Totally decent card, like 3 out of 5, maybe 3.5 out of 5 even. In Standard, no, it's not doing so much. It's kind of slow to you know, equip somewhere else. And just playing on its own is alright, but this is more of an aggressive blue card of all things, which is kind of strange. Without evasion, just has ward. Meh. So yeah, in Standard I don't really feel it, like 1.5 maybe. But in Limited, 3. Awakened Awareness. Costs X and blue for an aura. Enchant artifact or creature. When it enters the battlefield, put X +1/+1 counters on enchanted permanents. As long as enchanted permanent is a creature, it has base power and toughness 1/1. I really do like the versatility here. That you can just pay, you know, the 2 blue things, XCB 0, and you throw it on your opponent's creature, and it goes from whatever it is to a 1/1. Nice. Important to remember that if your opponent's creature has any +1/+1 counters on it, that will carry over. So if it was like a 2/2 with a counter, now it's 1 with a counter, and it's back to a 2/2. It's a, you know, don't forget that in your calculations. Or if you have a good amount of mana, you know, good early game with stopping your opponent's creatures. Good later game, because you can just take one of your creatures and buff the hell out of it. And let's see. It adds counters to the creature. So even if this aura in particular goes away, it probably makes your creature stronger, actually. The counters remain. And it also works if you have any of those modified matters kind of cards, which we will get to eventually. I thought we were going to get to them in the white review. Didn't actually have any, but maybe we'll get them here. So yeah, cards super legit there. Standard, I don't think I'll see anything to do with it. I don't think blue in particular is the color that ramps blue and greens. Like, yes, it ramps, but no, we won't do that much. So no. Standard, I think it's more so like a 1 out of 5. Maybe if you have auras matter or counters matter. And in Limited, I would give it like a 3.5. Good early game, kind of. Because if you play it early, you want to basically remove your opponent's creature. But it's also kind of better in the late game to remove your opponent's stronger creatures they'll play. Or buff yours. Behold the Unspeakable. Where'd that guy go? You know what, I think he's in here somewhere. I think I might have put him at the end. So, for 5 mana, you get a Saga, where Chapter 1, creatures you don't control get -2/-0 until your next turn. Pretty nice. Kind of almost like a little fog effect there. Really helps you survive for a turn. Doesn't wipe the board, but hey, what can you do? For 2 mana, not for 2 mana, Chapter 2, if you have 1 or fewer cards in hand, draw 4 cards. Otherwise, scry 2, then draw 2 cards. So, if you have 1 or nothing, you just draw 4 straight up. Cool, that's awesome. If you have more than one. So 2, 3, 4, whatever. Obviously, 2 is kind of the point where, I guess 3 is really the point where you just draw 2 and it actually ends up being 5. It's pretty good. That's a solid ability either way. I'm not even gonna like beat around the bush. You draw 2 to begin with as well. No, sorry. You scry 2 before you draw 2 for that second part, so you get some more selection there. I like it. And what do you do at the end when you've weakened your opponent's creatures and you got a few cards in your hand? Well, you have the Vision of the Unspeakable. Yes, so the Unspeakable here, I think I might have said Unthinkable earlier, maybe, maybe not, who knows. Also, this is our first saga in blue. All of the sagas in this set, like I mentioned at the very beginning of this video, are double-faced. The last chapter and every single saga in this set will have it exile, so it leaves the battlefield, and then it re-enters the battlefield, where if you have enchantments entering or creatures entering the battlefield, that could matter, as an enchantment creature. This one is a Vision of the Unspeakable spirit with Flample. Love that word, Flample, good thing. And it gets +1/+1 for each card in your hand, which is going to be at least 4. So 5 mana, your opponent's creatures are weaker for a bit, you draw some cards, and you make at least a 4/4, maybe a 5/5, 6/6. You do want to play cards from your hand, of course, but still, this is very nice. If anyone's wondering what the reference is, here is the actual Unspeakable. You've glimpsed it. It's terrifying, I know, but it's from the original Kamigawa. It was like one of the OG, depending on what time area you're from, boss monsters that by now standards would be largely unplayable. For 9 mana. You get something that kind of works. What's an arcane card? It's a type of instant. Just go with it, okay? I think it's asked me. Are there any sorceries? I don't know. It's a thing. But anyway, the vision and the beholding of it are pretty good. I wish it just removed something, honestly. I don't know why it doesn't. Maybe because it's not black, it's blue. You could have bounced something, but no. But this should have you survive the turn. Turn 2, draw, not, turn 2, chapter 2, get some answers. Do some things. You can get to scry if you have more cards in your hand to figure out what you need to survive, to stick this on the board, and hopefully gum up the works even more. Awesome card. I really do like it. I think this can basically buy you 2 turns at least, maybe even 3. Yeah, you're good. You're feeling good when you play this card. In Limited, this card's actually fantastic. I think this is like a 4.5 out of 5. Maybe even 5. Like, these are all good things. At Uncommon, excuse me. And in Standard, I will give this a 3. It is very nice. It's more so against aggro, of course, but it is very nice. And there's the Unspeakable again. You shouldn't look directly at it, though. Look at your, Eclipse classes. Covert Technician. I almost said Tactician, but you wouldn't have known that unless I told you just now. Is a 3 mana, 2/4, artifact creature human ninja. That's right, ninjutsu has returned. For those of you that aren't familiar with ninjutsu, you pay the ninjutsu cost there. In order to activate it, you'll have to do it after your attacker's been declared. Sorry, I have like a seed in my mouth. Okay. That's good. I had a little snack and there were seeds in there, and then there was a seed kind of, I was like, I need to do something with the seed. I have removed the issue. Or ground it down to a very fine mist, I guess. So, as far as ninjutsu goes, after you declare your attackers, if there are any creatures you control that are attacking that are not blocked, you can ninjutsu something in. Pay the cost on the creature that you want to ninjutsu in there, return the unblocked creature, and then play your creature in its place, and it is tapped and attacking. You can also do this after damage has actually been done. There are some niche cases where you might want to do that, or where you might not. Just worth noting. I'm going to go more into detail about that in the set mechanics video and the set specific things that I'm just going to talk about overall the mechanics, not any specific card. Cool. Let's see. Whenever this deals combat damage to a player, you may put an artifact card with mana value less than or equal to the damage dealt from your hand onto the battlefield. Oof, okay. What I like about this, as opposed to the ones that I reviewed in white, or at least one of them, is that the ninjutsu cost is less than the casting cost. So you can pay 3, just play it as a creature, sure, ignore the ninja part there, and just try to get it to hit the face. Or you can bounce your creature and pay 2 and kind of sneak it in there for cheap, but you maybe lose some damage from the creature getting bounced. and then you get to put an artifact on the board. Because there are other artifact creatures that would, by nature of the damage here, like the amount here, cost 2 or less if you manage to ninjutsu it out there, it basically removes the drawback where you have to bounce a creature. This is very nice formatting. It's very clever. I like it a lot. I don't think there's a whole lot of like amazing hits you can have here, but it just really solidifies this as a creature. I think Unlimited, this is like a 2.5, maybe even a 3 out of 5. Also, it's a 2/4. It's got a solid body. You can stick around a little bit. You can just make some blocks if you can't even hit. Yeah, totally. And Standard, this isn't super good. Because it connecting, cool, you get a cheap artifact. If you want to buff it, then yeah, you can get a bigger one, but then you're spending a lot to buff it. Why not just spend that to ramp or something or get other things out there? I don't know. Stabilize the board. Yeah. So, not so good there. Like 1 out of 5 in Standard, but like 3 out of 5 limited. Discover the Impossible. So back in the day, there were 3 cards that got you to... that were able to, if you played all 3 of them in one turn, in particular you had to end with... I think it was Sift Through Sands, or was it Reach Through Myths? I forget exactly which one it was, but if you managed to play all 3 of them in the same turn, then you could just search the Unspeakable and put it into play from your deck. This has the same kind of feel to it. The image, the artwork is kind of reminiscent of that. The naming is, and the effect of the card. So I kind of like that. It's a reference to it without actually going too deep into it. The other card was, it was just Peer Through Mist, Sift Through Sands, and, is it Peer Through Depths? Reach Through Mists, Sift Through Sands, Peer Through Depths. Okay, I think that's what it was. Anywho, for 3 mana, instant speed, look at the top 5 cards of your library. Exile one of them face down, and put the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order. You may cast the exile card without paying its mana cost, if it's an instant spell with mana value 2 or less. If you don't, put the card into your hand. So, at first I'm like, well, you can only cast an instant thing, it's kind of narrow there, and it has to cost 2 or less. Not great. But this only costs 3 mana. So for 3 mana, you get to, for an extra mana basically, you get to cast your favorite instant off the top 5 cards. For free. For 3. For 1 extra mana, you go through 5. I think I would gladly pay an extra mana to play one of my next 5 cards instead of, you know, being stuck with whatever I have in my hand. I think this card's great. I think this card's great. I see nothing wrong with this. Worst case, you pick a card, and let's see, it doesn't have to be... You don't have to exile an instant either. So you can just put the card into your hand, even if you can't cast it. That's fine, that's great. If you don't want to cast it, you're good. 3 mana, you know, take 1 card out of the top 5. Is it fantastic if you just do that? No, but the fact that you can just cast something, it's great. I like it. I think it's good. How many times are you going to dig for like a kill spell or a counter spell? Probably a few times. But let's do it, right? I'm all for it. So, on that note, even if you don't actually search for an instant, even if you don't get the other thing to go off there, in Limited, this is decent selection. So I will say 3 out of 5 in Limited. In Standard, I will say this is very nice, and I'll say 3 out of 5 in Standard. I think we'll see this have some play in some... It's going to be tough to displace the Tier 1 decks right now, but maybe Tier 1 or more likely Tier 2 decks, but I hope they're Tier 1 because I like blue, because it's my favorite color. Ah! Disruption Protocol. There it is. This is the one. Blue and a blue. Ignore the first, paragraph there, I guess, sentence. Counter target spell. So, I never played in a format where counterspell, just the actual factual counterspell, was legal. But now this is all changed. Now I can say I have. And, I'm welcoming that. I mean, there was Stoic Rebuttal. That was kind of cool, but just Metallic Rebuke. This is counterspell. More specifically, Disruption Protocol is a 2-mana instant. As an additional cost to cast this spell, tap an untapped artifact you control or pay 1. Counter target spell. So if you pay the 1, it's cancel. It's amazing how much that 1 mana actually matters. Because cancel, no one plays cancel. No one plays cancel. Maybe in like Pauper or something you'll play cancel, but no one plays cancel. But counterspell, oh my goodness, everyone plays counterspell. Really what you want to be doing, of course, is tapping an untapped artifact you control. Some very important things to know some little nuances with artifacts, since they will be relevant in this set, because we have quite a few equipments. If you equip a creature, you know, if you have equipment out there, and the equipped creature attacks, the equipment that is attached to it does not tap. The creature itself just does tap. It used to be more relevant in the days of Tangle Wire, where you have to tap permanents to pay for costs and stuff. But this is now relevant again for this. So it basically just costs 2 mana. You're tapping something that doesn't really matter if it's tapped or not. Cool. You can play portable holes and tap them. You can have some vehicles you can crew and tap those things. Mana rocks you didn't need, sure, I'll tap that. There's so many things. There are so many options. I love this card. I think this card's fantastic. I see nothing wrong with this card. I'm ready for this card to be terrible, but I find that hard to believe, and I am absolutely more than willing to put, like, you know, that picture of a trophy, that JPEG on the line, to say I think this is the best blue card in the set. I do. I know, I'm a control mage. I'm sorry. I like blue. It's kind of my thing, you know? I like that color. Not all my suits are blue, but... I don't always wear blue, but when I do, I let people know about it. So yeah, in Limited, it might be a little harder to get an artifact on the board, but it says counter target spell. Not counter target non-creature or creature spell or instant or sorcery or artifact spell. Counter target spell. This is good. You can tell it's good. Okay. You can tell I think it's good at least. So yeah, definitely. I'll give it like a 3.5 out of 5 Limited, just because counterspells Limited aren't as good, and maybe you don't have the artifact. Standard 5 out of 5. Standard easy 5, 6, 7, 8. However many years counterspell has been printed. I know it was reprinted in something in Modern Horizons 2, I believe, or something like that, or some other set, so it's in Modern, I think. But yeah, since the original printing, that many out of 5. It's insane. Okay, then, we'll just kind of pack that up and move on. Essence Capture, from one counterspell to another. Same cost, just those 2 blues. Counter target creature spell, put it plus almost 1 counter on up to 1 target creature control. So we had this back in the day when Mono Blue Tempo with all the merfolks and whatnot, and Charter Course, back with like Ixalan, and I think Dominaria was still a thing. So, and like Teferi Hero Dominaria was, oh god, that card was so good. Oh my goodness, that was when I first got Mythic. That guy. Fond memories. But yeah, back when, what was it? Autumn Bird Chat won the thing? Yeah. Yeah, she got first place in whatever Grand Prix tournament major thing was. It was really cool. But anyway, she got it with Mono Blue Tempo. So this is a reprint, is what I'm trying to say. It's pretty good. It's not bad. I don't know how many creatures you're going to be running in this sort of thing. I think blue-white can be a good one. Just going to check something real quick here. Okay, yeah, that's not going to work. So I had to make sure that vehicles weren't creatures all the time. In response, I'm going to play this. In response to this, I'm going to crew my vehicle. So now I have a creature. But I guess you've already had a creature if you crewed the vehicle, unless you're doing something like Heart of Kirin, which doesn't need a creature. You can crew off a Planeswalker loyalty. Anyway, we digress. And by we, I mean I. By I mean we. I mean us, you know. So this card's okay. You actually want to either do just mono blue or maybe blue-white. Tempo, aggro. Otherwise, you're not really doing a whole lot there. Then this is more of a sideboard card. Unless the meta is very much so, you know, creature-based, which it might be, it might not be. There's a lot of mono green going around still. Almost Epiphany just got banned, so a lot of control, kind of slow, grindy matchups are out now. That's not a deck anymore, unfortunately. Is it? I played the deck a little bit, not too much, and I found it okay. But that's for a separate thing. If you want to hear my opinion on that, check out my streams. Hey, on Twitch, link down below. But yeah, this card's okay. It's not great, but it's okay. I would give it like a 2 out of 5 in Limited. Be careful, because it's not always going to be creatures that you want to counter. This is actually pretty narrow, and the 2 blue makes it even more tough to cast. In Standard, it's fine. This is definitely a sideboard card, sometimes main board, so I'll give it like a 3 out of 5. 3.5 if there's actually a decent, like, either mono blue or blue white tempo aggro deck. Futurist Operative is a 4-mana 3/4 ninja. It's a human ninja as well. As long as it is tapped, it's a human. Human citizen, in fact, with base power and toughness 1/1 and can't be blocked. And then you can pay 3 to untap Futurist Operative. So, at first you think, okay, got a 3/4. Cool. 4-mana 3/4, that's fine. Nothing crazy about that. That's just fine. It's a ninja if the typing matters, but doesn't have ninjutsu, so there's that. But then if you attack with it, it taps, unless you give it vigilance somehow, which would be cool. And then it becomes a 1/1 and can't be blocked. So it clears the way for other ninjas because it kind of makes itself unblockable. If you want to get the full power out of it, then you need to hold on to another 3 mana so that after it attacks, after you declare it as an attacker, but before combat damage, you pay the 3 to untap it to give it its full stats again. It's a neat card. It's kind of cool how it's like, oh, it's, you know, putting on a disguise, then taking it off and whatnot. But damn, is it expensive to just deal 3 damage. So for that, unless you have a lot of specifically ninjutsu abilities you want to activate, this is more of a blocker of anything. It's okay. I would say like 1.5, maybe 2 out of 5 in limited, just because like I don't really want to try to grind some of this. Attack for 1, cool. Attack for 1, cool. Attack for 1, and when you could have just done like 9 damage and won the game, hopefully. So yeah. When this thing has to get to the grind, it feels pretty bad. Although hopefully you have the 3 mana. In standard, I don't like it at all. I think it's a 0 out of 5. Futurist Sentinel is a 4 mana 6/6 artifact vehicle with crew cost for 3. Very simple, very plain. Does what it does. It fills its spot in the, you know, you need to have so many of whatever in the set, and here's one of those whatevers. It's okay. Like a 2 out of 5 in limited. It's not bad. Crew across the 3 is nice, and the 6/6 is good to have. Cool. In standard, it's just not going to see any play there, but, you know, it's standard, so what are you going to do? Ah, yes, another reference to the Kamigawas of old. Actually, this looks like I got this picture from Time Spiral, or something along those lines. Something. But, yeah. So, back in the day, the OG shrines, we had the Honden cycle. Then, fast forward a few years, to not too long ago actually, M21, we had the Sanctum cycle. And now, 2022, with Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, we have the Go-Shintai cycle. Worth noting here, in particular, the Go-Shintai cycle, as well as them all being legendary enchantments, shrine types, they're also all creatures. So that's nice, a little easier to remove when you want to amass more shrines, because of course they work better together, but it gives you a little more value, potentially, you know, a little more functionality. So, you have a 2 mana 0/4 flyer in Go-Shintai of Lost Wisdom. And at the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1. When you do, target player mills X cards, where X is the number of shrines you control. So it's a mill shrine. Cool. I believe all of these shrines actually say that you can pay 1, and then you do something to the amount of X, or it's the number of shrines you control. And they're all at the beginning of your end step, I believe, as well. So that's kind of nice. At least they kind of impact the board, impact the game, I'll say. The turn you play them, if you have that 1 mana at the end. In limited, good luck here. I mean, I'm sure they're all uncommon, so you can get a couple of them. Whether they're going to be in your colors, whether you're going to want to run them, that's a whole other story. If you do, then you do. Is milling someone in limited really great? It's okay. Worst case, it's a 2 mana 0/4 flying blocker, and that's not too bad. And if you happen to have some mana left over, sure, mill your opponent's cards. You could hit the big one. You never know. In standard, I don't think we're going to have Shrine Tribal. I would like maybe Historic, where you have the Sanctums and Sanctum of All, and you just start plucking shrines out of nowhere, and then it can get all of them out, and you can have like 10 shrines out, and then Sanctum of All doubles everything, so it'd be like mill X, where X is 10, but it's actually 20, and you just pay 1 and mill 20, and then do some crazy nonsense, and the other ones will also have you just win the game on the spot, so yeah. I think there's one that just drains 20 life, Sanctum of like Lost Fangs or something, the black one. Yeah, so that would win it before this, but Guardians of... Oh, so in standard, I think it's like a 0 to 5, but Guardians of Oboro Oh, we have some Moonfolk. Yes, if you're familiar with Tamio, she is a Moonfolk. These are also Moonfolk. Moonfolk. 3 mana, 3/4 Moonfolk Samurai Defender. Similar to you, except you could get buffed and attack, but this actually just is Defender. Modified creatures. There we go. I believe this is the first time I've had a card that says modified on it in the review. Modified creatures you control can attack as though they didn't have Defender. And just equipment, auras you control, and counters are modifications. So, if your creature is equipped, it's modified. If your creature has an aura on it, it's modified. It has to be an aura you control. If you put an aura, like a pacifism or something, on your opponent's creature, it does not count as being modified, so don't worry about that helping them in any way, really. If this has any counter on it whatsoever, it can be a +1/+1 counter. That's probably the most common one to get. But if it had a flying counter, or if it had a loyalty counter, maybe you played the Eldest Reborn and brought back a creature with loyalty. I don't know why. Maybe it did. If it had... what would it be? Some other, first strike counter, stuff from my Ikoria and whatnot, this would make it a modified creature. It is by default a modified creature. This is just the card that cares about that. So, hey, that's cool. Unlimited, this card could be okay. 3 mana, 3/4 on its own, like, it's alright. I guess you could equip it, and then if you equip it, it can just attack. And you could get like a pseudo haste out there, like, okay, play this on turn 3. Turn 4, play, a little, dinky 1 or 2 mana artifact and equip it for 1 or 2 mana. And now this thing's buffed and it's attacking you. That's kind of neat. And this is common. I could see that happening. Or maybe you already have an equipment out there and just do it. You have the rabbit and you equip it with the rabbit. Yes, it gives haste. So yeah, I'll give this 2 out of 5 in limited, even though it can't always attack. When it does, I think it's going to hit pretty nicely. In standard, no. I don't remember the last time I've had a defender in standard. No. Like, a relevant defender in standard. Inventive Iteration is a 4-mana saga. Chapter 1, return up to 1 target creature or planeswalker to its owner's hand. Just boing. 4-mana bounce. That's expensive. Return an artifact for Chapter 2. Card from your graveyard to your hand. If you can't, draw a card. Okay, I mean, a little mirror retriever thing going on there, but alright, if you don't, then you draw. You probably could, by the time you're playing this is a rare, oh my goodness. But if you manage to make it to the end, you flip it over, and you acquire the Living Breakthrough, a 3/3 flyer, and whenever you cast a spell, your opponents can't cast spells with the same mana value as that spell until your next turn. It says they can't cast them. So you do not want to wait for your opponent to cast something and then try to instant speed. Oh, in response I play this thing. In response to you playing, we'll say Portable Hole because it costs 1, right? To you doing that, to target my Living Breakthrough, hell, why not? I'm going to play Opt and, and look through a card. And now because I played this that costs 1, you can't cast that one, so it's countered. No, it's already cast, already on the stack. You have to get yours out first. This is not counterflux. This is okay. This side's absolutely terrible. Pure garbage. Unfortunately, I think that kind of carries over to the flying side, where in limited, like 1.5 out of 5, maybe 2, just because you're paying a lot for almost nothing until you flip it over. In standard, I'm just gonna say 0. I don't think you can reasonably on 4 mana bounce something. I'm sorry, 4 mana bounce? Get out of here. You are already dead. Invoke the Winds. I did not realize when I did the white review that this is actually part of a cycle for the set. There's an invoke card in every color, and each one costs 4 of that color plus a number. Is it 4 plus 1 or just 4 plus a number? We're gonna scroll to the top of this page and find out. It is 4 plus 1. Cool. Now we know. Gain control of target artifact or creature, untap it. Just good old mind control. This is a sorcery, which means that, as opposed to mind control being an aura, where your opponent can remove it and get the creature back, you have this creature now. This is yours. You don't own the creature, but you're in control of it, and the untap is really nice. If you're playing mono blue, cool. If you're in limited and you're in mono blue, definitely I would take this. I don't see why not. You take the strongest creature or artifact, you win the game. If you are trying to do 2 colors, good luck. If you're trying to do 3 colors, do not run this card. Maybe take it if you're one of those like high-level draft people and you're like, I'm going to take this to deny you of this, or I'm going to pass this to send a message. It's actually called signaling, but anyway. Yes, in standard, I mean, this isn't any kind of Thief of Chapter. Don't get me wrong there. Definitely not that, but it's okay. I'm ready to have my stuff stolen. It's alright. I think they've lived a decent life. So I'll give that like a 2 out of 5 in standard, and like I'd probably give it like a 4 out of 5, 3.5 to 4, just because the mana cost is kind of tricky, but really solid ability. Gingotaxius, oh boy. So here's another reference. Back in the day, when Mirrodin was besieged by the Phyrexians, and the Phyrexians managed to clench victory in their cold, completed hands, we had the Praetors, and they just want to take everything, and it's like, there was like a slick black oil, I think, who was that? Yawgmoth had something to do with it. He actually coined the term, like, Physis, and then the Phyrexians came from that, and it was like some kind of disease that may or may not have even existed. I'm not entirely sure on that point. He might have made it up and then actually experimented on people and made it a real thing. Anywho, the Praetors are like the top of the Phyrexians. There's one in each color, and they are the big boss ones. And Phyrexians are one of the big bads. The other ones are like the Eldrazi, and Bolas just himself is a big bad. So, yeah. I love the bad ones, the big bad creatures. In particular, I love the Phyrexians. They're my favorite ones. So, back in the old day, Gingotaxius was a big old thing you played, and your opponent ended up discarding other cards, and you drew a bunch every turn, and you know what, you just had a good time, and you hope to lock out the game from there. Nowadays, Gingotaxius Progress Tyrant. Cost 7, down from 8, down from 10, I'm sorry. Back in the old days, you would reanimate this thing, because you didn't have 10 mana. 7 mana, 5/5, legendary creature, Phyrexian Praetor. Whenever you cast an artifact, instant, or sorcery spell, copy the spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. This ability triggers only once each turn, and a copy of a permanent spell becomes a token. So that's how you copy an artifact, if it's not some weird artifact that is just an instant somehow. I don't know how. Yeah, so if you have this guy out there, and you play an artifact, if you play your lovely Futurist Sentinel, then you actually you play Futurist Sentinel and you get a second one. That's a token. That's a copy of it. Cool. And the second line here: whenever an opponent casts an artifact, instant or sorcery spell, counter that spell. This ability triggers only once each turn. So, add 7 mana. And I say this largely coming from playing through a standard that had Emergent Ultimatum. You want to win the game. You want to lock your opponent out. Anything that costs 7 mana, you want to decisively impact the board. You do not want to, turn 7, I play this, that is half of my combo, that I still need to get this other card out of here, and out of my deck or out of my hand, and maybe then on turn 8 or turn 9, I can absolutely, I can seal the game up. Does this do that? Essentially, no. Unfortunately, it's a 5/5, but if you can back this up somehow, if you play this past turn 7, which I know was asking a lot, if you can just have like a board wipe and then control things, this could easily be a combo finisher, is what I'm trying to say there. Not a combo, a control deck finisher. And your opponent needs to use 2 things to get rid of it. As long as you don't turn this guy sideways and your opponent can just do a combat trick or something. Well, they'd have to do a couple of those anyway. Yeah, because your opponent tries to kill it once, it counters it. He just says no. It's just like, no, get out of here, you. Be gone, spell. And then they try to kill it again. And he's like, dang, my other hand, if only my other hand was not holding this head, then I could wave that away as well. But unfortunately, I'm stuck holding the head and pondering the skull. Yeah. How much benefit you're going to get out of the first lines, where you copy things, that is up to your deck construction. Honestly, I believe that you're going to want to have a few... Oh, it'll be a sad day when someone decides to... I play this, and in response I play this as well. Okay, I counterspell. And actually, let's play 3 things. Play a spell, gets countered immediately by Gingotaxius. Play a second spell, and then in response to that, play a third spell, and then you play counter spell and counter the last 2. Wow. If that ever happens, Jesus Christ. Then they should play the lottery. I don't know what side should play the lottery, but they should, because odds of that are so slim. But yeah, this guy is pretty damn good, I will say. In Limited, this guy's just a bomb. Go ahead, play it, copy all your artifacts and stuff, and just try to win the game that way. 4.5 out of 5. It's still a 7-mana 5/5, worst case, which is a pretty bad case, and you don't want to do that. In Standard, I don't know if we can afford to play 7s. There are some reanimation spells. We can try to cheap them out there, but not super well. There's the white Invoke that reanimates. There's also some black things. I don't know if there's any red ones. Olivia can try to bring him back, but it's gonna be tough. It's a tough sell. Even though I love this guy and I love that he's here. Elishnar is my favorite, by the way, just 100%. But I'm gonna give you a 3.5 out of 5 in Limited and Standard. I think maybe people that have been able to play the damn thing, I just want to see it work. I want to see it happen. If we still had Emergent Ultimatum, then we'd be talking. Oh, and by the way, just as they do nowadays, they also have this in just a purely Phyrexian card style with Phyrexian text that I think is fantastic. I splurged a little while ago, as you do, and got the Phyrexian complete secret lair. You can maybe make out there that there's... Yep, there you go. You can totally see it. Elishnar, I left it in the plastic because they're warped like a frickin' Pringle ship. But yeah, just because I felt like leaving them in there for collector's value, maybe. And I just love the language there and everything. Oh, they're so cool. Phyrexians are my dudes. Alright. Another reference. You got them back-to-back here. Back in the day in Kamigawa, there was a cycle of dragons. Each one had an effect when it was put into the graveyard. And they were spirit dragons, and they were pretty cool. They were like the bosses of Kamigawa, right? There was one for each color. And now we have a new blue one. Kairi the Swirling Sky is a 6-mana 6/6 legendary creature dragon spirit with flying and ward 3. When Kairi the Swirling Sky dies, you choose 1. Return any number of target non-land permanents with total mana value 6 or less to their owner's hands, or mill 6 cards, then return up to 2 instant and/or sorcery cards from your graveyard to your hand. So if you mill 6 cards, if you pick the last one, you can mill 6 cards and put 4 instant sorceries from your graveyard to your hand. Just be like, you know what, I want these bunch. That's not bad for a control deck or for any kind of tempo, any kind of deck that wants to go for a little while. That's good. You can get your card draw, get your life gain, get your board wipes back into your hand. Plus some more. Plus it gives you more selection because you mill the cards. Solid. Also, this could be kind of hard to remove. It's something your opponent has to deal with too, because you can't really ignore a 6/6 flyer for too long. If the board is still gummed up, if there is no board wipe in the graveyard, you can either mill and try to hit one if you need to clear the board, or you can use the first ability and just start bouncing things. You, and you get bounced. You know, 1/1/1, and then a 2, nothing else there. Okay, 1/1 2/2. Yeah, you all go away. Cool. Really solid card. Again, like super bomb, limited 5 out of 5. And in Standard, I hesitate to compare this to Emrith because, like, yeah, you draw a card sometimes and it has ward sometimes, and it costs 1 less all the time. But, well, actually, sometimes maybe you can reduce the cost of things. But I think this is still pretty good for what it does. I think your opponent will probably have to answer it. They probably can after you cast it, but then maybe you can answer them back when you get those, like, 4. I'm really kind of hinging on that last one for the instant sorceries coming back. I think they're good. So, yeah, this is going to be, geez, like a 4 out of 5 for me in Standard. I'm surprised I'm saying that myself, but I like the card. March of the Swirling Mist. You can pay X and a blue for instant speed. As initial cost to cast this spell, you may exile any number of blue cards from your hand. Force of Will people just like, ooh. They just perked up, like, excuse me? This spell costs 2 less to cast for each card exiled this way. Up to X target creatures phase out. That's okay. I think this is the least impactful. March. There's a cycle of cards that is March of. This is the blue one. So you can just pay a single blue and exile nothing and hit nothing, but you cast a spell. Good for you. Pardon me. I'm feeling a little sleepy. Don't be surprised if the other videos for the other colors and whatnot come out and I'm a little differently adorned. If I'm actually wearing the same clothes, you'd be more surprised. Because that meant I cared. No, I do care, but it shows my level of commitment. But yeah, this is largely like, if you have a bunch of cards in your hand that aren't doing anything, which is kind of bad for blue, maybe you're playing best of one and you have some cards that are just dead in your hand. It's possible. Have those essence captured, but your opponent's not playing creatures. Then why are you phasing out creatures? Maybe you want to phase out your own creatures because your opponent just wiped your board. It's okay. But it's just okay, and it can be pretty expensive there. I'm going to give this a rating of 2.5 out of 5 unlimited because you don't have to exile cards. You can just pay a good amount, get your opponent's creatures off the board for a little bit, and then swing in. Or protect your things. You know, declare blocks, okay, phase them out, cool. In Standard, this is much less flashy. Which is funny because I don't really think it does as much as I would like it to do, and therefore I'll give it a 1. Mind's Link Mech has a lot of words on it. 3 mana, 4/3 flying vehicle with crew cost of just 1, just a single 1. Whenever this becomes crewed for the first time each turn, until end of turn, this becomes a copy of that non-legendary creature that crewed it. Yes. This turn, except as a 4/3 vehicle, artifact creature, in addition, and it also still has flying. So it keeps the flying in the 4/3, but it gets the name and the effect of the other creature that crewed it, if it's not legendary. So if you want to double down on some other abilities that are happening that I don't really know what's coming into mind right now, there's the white 1-drop that can pay 4 to tap creatures. There's something else that can do more things. There's the one that exiles, that's basically white. It's an enchantment creature too. No, it's an equipment creature. Basically a white scavenging ooze, that could be cool. So yeah, otherwise just 3 mana, 4/3 flyer that crews. I like it. So yeah, the crew cost is super cheap. It's 1. It's almost as cheap as it could be. I think you could have a crew cost of 0. I could be wrong. But yeah, absolutely like 3.5 out of 5 in limited. Just you play it and you can start beating face. Start wrecking furs. In Standard, this could also be played. This could definitely be played. So I would say, I think there might be an Azorius vehicles like artifacts deck. So 3 out of 5. Good, yeah. If I could just stop yawning, then I could keep on living. Mirror Shell Crab is a 7 mana 5/7 crab, artifact crab, no less. With Ward 3, we know what that does, but we have Channel. You got the Channel ability here. I think we already went over Channel, so I'm going to keep on going. If not, I reviewed that in white, and I'm going to review that in a whole set mechanic thing, so there you go. Pay 3, discard this card, counter target spell or ability unless the controller pays 3. It's okay. It's not mana leak. It does say counter ability though, so you can use this to counter another channel card. Interesting. But do you really want to be holding on to this? And, I mean, in limited it's okay. Maybe you can get to 7 mana and play this. I really don't want to be holding on to this thing and then end up playing it as a crab. And feeling bad like, well, I guess I'm not going to counter anything. Here's a crab. Okay, I play this. Oh my god, I just hit my thing. How did you know? Gonna be some feel bad times there. Limited, this card's cool. This card's nice. I like it. Like a 3 out of 5 there. It's expensive. Hopefully you get to play it. In Standard, these fun little cards that kind of do little neat things don't actually usually see play. Maybe for a day or two and then they're out. So I'm going to give it a 1 out of 5 Standard. Mnemonic Sphere. It's a 2 mana artifact. Let's see, it costs 1 in a blue. And you can pay 1 in a blue to sacrifice it and draw 2 cards, or you can channel it just for a single blue and draw a card. Nice. Pretty good value there. I don't hate it. You can have it out there when artifacts matter, or you can just channel it away if you don't really want to do something, if you need that land drop on turn 2 or something, who knows. Yeah. Reasonable card. If you have an artifacts matter thing, then totally. In limited, play this 2.5 out of 5. I like it. I think it's pretty cheap enough to get you there. In Standard, I'll give it a 2 out of 5. I think this is alright. It doesn't give you a whole... It's no Maze Mind Tome, don't get me wrong. This card's fantastic. This one is a lot less than that, but it's not asking as much either. Mobilizer Mech, and this is why, another reason I think that vehicles could be a thing. 2 mana, 3/4 vehicle. Flying vehicle with crew cost for 3. When it becomes crewed, up to one other target vehicle you control becomes an artifact creature till end of turn. Basically, when you crew this thing, you crew something else for free. That's good. Have a high crew cost. I'm just gonna crew this, and then and then that's just along for the ride too. Nothing wrong with that. And a 2 mana 3/4 flyer. Like, it's good. That's good. Sure, crew 3, so you're only really getting the flying as a benefit versus actually any power. But like, damn, that's good. You can even just hold it back for a little while with other creatures, of course, to crew it to block something, because it has a 4 toughness. Yeah. Like 3 out of 5 limited, at least. Maybe even 4. Probably not 4. Standard, 2.5. 2.5. Moon Circuit Hacker is a 2 mana, 2/1 human ninja. Also, it's an enchantment human ninja. Interesting. With ninjutsu for just the single blue cost. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Whenever this deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card, unless it's sent to the battle for this turn. Not a horrible ability there. Good way to potentially discard things to reanimate later on. And let's see here. Only if you enter the battle for this turn. So otherwise, you just draw a card. That's pretty cool. I love that ninjutsu only costs 1. I love that. Obviously, you can't really do that on turn 1 unless you do some sort of mana rampingness, and you also have like a hasty creature. It's possible, it's not likely. But, hey. Nothing wrong with just bouncing a thing, throwing this out there, drawing a card, and saying, guess what, I got my value, what about you? Yeah. In limited, this card's cool. Like 2.5 out of 5. In standard, I don't really think ninjas are going to be a thing. They're neat, but I don't think they're that good. So I believe that's going to be more something like maybe 1.5. Moonfolk Puzzle Maker. Oh, I love puzzles. I have one right here. Let me try not to show you the green side because it's going to throw a key out there. Here you go. This is the Rubik's Orbit. Fun times. For the record, it is in the solved state right now, because as you look at it face on, each ring is complete. There we go. Now we know. 3 mana, 1/4 artifact creature Moonfolk Wizard. It flies, and whenever it becomes taxed, scry 1. Feels bad. 1 out of 5 limited, 0 to 5 standard. Moving on. Terrible. Moon Snare prototype just costs 1. Single 1. This is the 1 mana alert. Like, watch out. 1 cost cards could be coming for you. You can tap this and tap an untapped artifact or creature control and add a colorless mana to your pool. It's a couple of ways to get to, it's no Springleaf Drum, but still it makes mana. Could be okay, and it's super cheap. Or for the channel cost, pay 5 and discard it. The owner puts target non-land permanent. The owner of target non-land permanent puts it on the top or bottom of their library. That in itself isn't really even a bad ability. Like, there's something to be said about that. It's very, very blue in the sense that it kills something without killing it. And yeah, that could definitely save you a few times. It costs a lot, sure. But maybe you play one of them, and then if you have a second one, you use that one and you channel it. I don't know, I like it. I like this card. Maybe I shouldn't like it, but I do. I'm going to call it a 2 out of 5 in limited. And I want to say 2 out of 5 in standard, but I'm going to bring it back to 1.5. I think I'm coming back to reality a little bit more. Not snapping back, just coming back. The snap hasn't occurred yet. Alright, Moon Snare Specialist is a 4 mana 2/2. For 3 mana, you can do the whole ninja thing and bring it in there and smack someone and bring who knows where it goes. Whenever this enters the battlefield, return up to 1 target creature to its owner's hand. So it doesn't have to ninjutsu its way there, but just has to enter the battlefield, and then something happens. Doesn't even have to connect in combat. Pretty cool. Pretty decent card. I don't hate it. 2.5 out of 5 in limited. 0 out of 5 standard. It's just not an effect that we care about, really. Network Disruptor. Cost 1. 1 mana alert again. Here we go. Oh my goodness. All the 1 mana cards in this set, I tell you. There's sagas, there's 1 mana cards, and there's stuff. And there's a Phyrexian, goddammit. Alright. 1 mana, 1/1 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, tap target permanent. Cool. If it's that untapped target permanent as well, like either or, then we have another whole Kiki-Jiki situation on our hands, which would be reminiscent of the original Kamigawa, but we're not doing that. Not today, at least. So, it's okay. If it had flying, it'd be like worth 2 mana, but not flying. Excuse me. If it had flash, then that'd be great. You'd flash in during your opponent's turn. That creature can't that creature can't attack this turn, sure. But it doesn't have that, so it's just okay. I would give it like a 1.5 out of 5. I would round up to 2 if you had a good amount of equipment, or you can throw it on this thing and suddenly have an early beater. With standard in mind, maybe. I'm going to stick with 1.5 out of 5. It might not actually see the play there, see that much play, but it could be fine just as an early flyer again. Planar Incision is a 2-mana instant. Exile target artifact or creature, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a +1/+1 counter on it. So it triggers your modified stuff, like we actually saw a card with it earlier. It's just like a flicker, so it works on ETBs, and it gets buffed, just if it's a creature or artifact, whatever. I guess if it was an artifact, then it would get the counter. If it can use it somehow, cool. If not, if it's just not even a creature in the remotest sense of the word, then nothing happens to it. But if it's a vehicle, then it actually matters. Cool. Yeah, it's all right. Give like a 2 out of 5 limited. Probably 0 out of 5 standard. I don't think we want like flicker that badly. Prosperous Thief costs 3 for a 3/2. Human Ninja. Ninja 2 is 2. Whenever one or more ninja or rogue creatures you control do combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. So this is one of the big old like happens for every ninja that is getting through, as opposed to just this one has to attack directly or be unblocked and whatnot. It's okay. I feel like it's racing Goldspan somehow, and it could be winning the race, but at the same time, it's more likely that it's not. I don't think I'm too crazy about this card. So I'll say, let's see, if you manage to get this in though on turn like 2, you may get treasure. You only make 1 treasure token, worth noting, even if you tackle a bunch of things. So that's not great. But if you manage to play it pretty early, on its own, maybe not with other ninjas, this could be like a 3 out of 5, just because you ramp up more and you're able to play stronger cards than your opponent. In standard, nope. Reality Heist. Costs 7 for instant speed, and you become the blue blazer, or whatever its name is. I don't know. The blue ranger? The blue guy. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each artifact you control, potentially costing 2. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may reveal up to 2 artifact cards from among them, put them into your hand, put the rest in the bottom of your library in any order. Ingenious Smith is a fantastic way to do something similar to this. So this card is super expensive, but it has affinity for artifacts, so maybe 1.5 out of 5 in limited, and 2 out of 5 in standard. Replication Specialist is a 5-mana 3/4 Moonfolk Artificer with flying. Whenever a non-token artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 2 if you do make a token that's a copy of it. Has to be an artifact, but it can't be a token, otherwise it'll trigger itself. But since we have all these artifact creatures, like artifact equipment creatures as well, that is relevant. So I think in limited, if you have a few of those, and this has flying, so it's okay. And by a few, I mean like at least half your deck, maybe. Half the, like, you know, the cards and the spells in your deck, I should say, not lands. Will trigger this. And then go ahead and do it. If you don't have that, 5 mana for a 3/4 flyer is a lot. It's a lot to pay for a 3/4 flyer. So yeah, I would say 3 out of 5 if you have it, and probably 1.5 out of 5 if you don't. In standard, you just don't. You just don't. Saiba Trespassers. 5 mana, 3/5 artifact creature, Moonfolk Rogue, sorry, I'm getting a little sleepy as you can tell. Just has a channel ability. You can play it as a 3/5 or channel it and tap up to 2 target creatures in control, they don't untap. Fine card, we see this here and there. It's alright in limited, kind of limited filler, but it's not terrible. You can take it if you want. Like a 1.5, 2 out of 5. Standard's not doing anything. Short Circuit. 2 mana aura. Enchant artifact or creature, and it has flash. As long as enchanted permanent is a creature, it gets -3, -0, and loses flying. So with pseudo pacifism, it costs less. You can flash it in there, which is nice, but it doesn't remove any toughness, and the thing still has all its abilities. So not completely taken down, but it's hurting. It's hurting. So when limited, yeah, sure, I'd put this like a 1.5 as well. It's okay. It's okay. It's decent removal, but it's not at all actually getting the creature out of the board. It's still there. You still got to deal with it at some point. In standard, it's not gonna be there. You're not gonna deal with anything ever. 0 out of 5. Sky Swimmer Koi. Oh, look at you. Are you like Muldrifter kind of? I think it might be a reference to that maybe. Although that's more so an elemental, which is or is an avatar. It's an elemental, maybe from Zendikar. Who knows? 4 mana, 3/3, flying fish. Whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. If you discard a card. Okay, kind of box standard kind of thing. We see these kind of effects all the time. Limited, same kind of thing. 2 out of 5, maybe 2.5, maybe 3 if you have a whole bunch of artifacts. Standard, nope. Spell Pierce is a reprint. Look at Gingotaxius just being like, absolutely nope. Like you tried to, you thought you could hold me back with this bubble? Excuse me? I'm not trying to hold you back. You do you, man. 1 mana. Counter target non-creature spell, and its controller pays 2. Quite often, this will hit. There are a lot of sagas in the set that could be relevant there. There are some artifacts that aren't creatures, but a good number of them are. And there's just some other powerful cards that are not creatures, so definitely 100% there. Take at least 2 of these if you can get them. In 3, I would kind of hold off on that, because you do usually win the game with creatures. In Standard, I'm just going to say 5 out of 5. It will absolutely see play at like the top levels. I don't know if it's going to be the best card that you ever see play, but it will definitely see it. Like I think in every Standard that's been in, it's all play. Suit Up! 3 mana instant. Until end of turn, target creature or vehicle becomes an artifact creature with base power toughness 4/5. And draw a card. I mean, obvious statement is obvious, but hey, if you got enough artifacts creatures, run it. If you don't have enough, then don't bother. 3 mana, draw a card is terrible. Is actually one of the worst things you could do. Instant speed, nice, but just is god awful. In Standard, I think if you're building a deck that revolves around artifact creatures or vehicles, you should be able to crew them. You should build that with crews in mind, not thinking that Suit Up is going to get you there every time. But the stat setting is nice, so, you know, 1.5 to 2 out of 5 in limited if you can make it work. And then in Standard, 0. Tamashii? Reality Architect. This is interesting. Any Commander player would tell you that this is actually a multicolored card because the color identity is blue and white. But I will be reviewing this again in the multicolored section. Here I'm just going to look at it as though it is a mono blue card and you cannot use that ability. In the multicolored thing, I will actually look at the other ability. I think that's a pretty fair way to do it. 3 mana, 2/3. Moonfolk Wizard. Whenever one or more non-creature permanents are returned to hand, draw a card. This ability triggers only once she's turn. On its own is bad. You need something else to go with it. If you're mono blue. So for limited, I would put this down like a 1 out of 5. And in Standard, I would make that a 0 out of 5. You better be able to trigger the ability. Tamio's Completion. Oh, we're almost at the end here, thank goodness, because I am about to once again just whoop, not off. Okay. 4 mana, Enchantment Aura. If you know what completion is, if you're familiar with this phrase, then this is a spoiler for the multicolored cards. When we get to her, she's a little different than you might remember. So 4 mana, Flash Aura, enchant artifact, creature, or planeswalker. Pretty wide spread there. When Tamio's Completion enters the battlefield, tap enchanted permanent. If it is an equipment, unattach it. Cool. So you tap something. If this equipment, get away from there. Enchanted permanent loses all abilities and doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. This is 100% definitely one of those 3 things is gone. Is not being used. Yeah, you can destroy the aura. You can. It probably will get destroyed. That's why in limited it's only going to be like a 3 out of 5. Unfortunately in Standard we don't see these things anymore, so it's going to be like a 1 out of 5 there. More so unlimited, this has really, really nice playability. And it's a common? Oh my goodness, it's a common. Oh, we're going to face a few of these, I guarantee you. Yeah, card's just pacifism, but like removes other things too. Card's legit. Tezzeret, Betrayer of Flesh. Oh, look at this. From one horrible thing to another horrible thing. That's kind of cool, though. We have a Planeswalker. 4 mana, 4 loyalty. The first activated ability of an artifact you activate each turn costs 2 less to activate. That's a lot of activate. We're saying activate, yeah. That's a decent ability. It gets to let around certain things. I don't exactly know what we're looking to activate with that thing, but I'm sure that there are some things that are nonsense people can tell me in the comments down below. Why not? +1, draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards unless you discard an artifact card. -2, target artifact becomes an artifact creature. If it isn't a vehicle, it has base power and toughness for 4. If it is a vehicle, it keeps its own stats. And it stays a creature forever while it's on the board. Like, that's not bad. That is actually relevant stuff. -6, the ultimate, kind of. You get an emblem. Whenever an artifact you control becomes tapped, draw a card. That's okay. Hopefully your artifacts, you know, if you ever get there, can become tapped pretty freely. Some things, like if it's an equipment, like, well, I can't really untap it. I mean, I can't really tap it because, you know, it's kind of just there. I would have to have something else that makes it get tapped, and then I can get it out, you know? So be careful with that. Don't be afraid. Don't feel bad if you don't -6 immediately. Sometimes you just have to do the other two. Sometimes the -6 doesn't do anything for you. You do what's best for you. I believe the last card, it might be, well, it might not be. It's actually definitely not the last card, because I'm looking at one that comes later. Okay. But one of the later cards, The Modern Age, is a 2-mana saga. For the first 2 chapters, you draw a card, discard a card. Okay, for 2 mana, that's alright. Chapter 3, you acquire a 2/3 flyer. So on turn 2, you do that. Turn 3, again, draw, discard. Turn 4, you get this thing. For turn 4, that is very, very lackluster, but you can do this and something else turn 4. For an investment of 2 mana, you get a pretty solid creature. And you get to get a little bit of card selection. I mean, you can try to fix your hand a little bit. So yeah, this card's cool. Like 3 out of 5 limited, probably 0 out of 5 standard, but it's okay. And we have the Reality Chip. Is it the last one? Almost. We're getting there. I apologize. I try not to do that too much, but you know, I'm getting there. 2 mana. If there ever was a flagship card for this set, I think this would be the one. 2 mana, legendary artifact creature equipment jellyfish. If that typing doesn't just make you smile, then I don't know what will. That's just, oh, whoever just wrote that out must have just loved it. Like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna blow their freaking minds. Legendary, yeah. Artifact creature equipment. Jellyfish, hell yeah. Jellyfish, little jellyfish. Okay, actually it was like this. And then the whole body was the bigger jellyfish. So anyway, for 2 mana, you get a 0/4. You can look at the top card of your library anytime, as long as it's attached to a creature. It doesn't do anything else while it's unattached. As long as it is attached, you may play lands and cast spells at the top of your library. That's great. Experimental Frenzy, but you can also just play things from your hand. It only costs 3 to equip. This card is great. Oh my goodness. We already see some value similar to this in Ranger class, how your opponent play creatures off the top. You can play anything off the top with this as long as it's equipped. Solid card. Super good card. 4 out of 5 limited. Standard, I would say 3 out of 5 there. I don't know if it's going to be super good like that. I don't know how often you want to do that kind of thing in a blue deck in particular, but it's not bad. Like 3 out of 5 limited and standard, 4 out of 5 limited. Thirst for knowledge. Then there's like a cycle for things that are like thirst for whatever, so this is part of that. It might even be a reprint. 3 mana instant, draw 3 cards, then discard 2 cards, then discard an artifact card. We've seen these kind of things before. They usually don't actually end up seeing any play, unfortunately. We go more towards other card selection things, like Memory Deluge would be a good example, or Behold the Multiverse. So that's usually what is favored over these, but it's okay. In limited, sure, 2.5 out of 5. Maybe even 3 if you have the artifacts for it. In standard, it's 2 out of 5 there. We'll see if artifacts actually take over. I'm not convinced they will. I think there are going to be some good artifact decks, but will they actually be like all the way up there? Maybe not. We have the Thousand-Faced Shadow. is a 1-mana 1/1 ninja with ninjutsu of 4. Oh, it is a flyer? 1-mana 1/1 flyer? Hell yeah. When this enters the battlefield from your hand, if it's attacking, create a token that's a copy of another target attacking creature. The token enters the battlefield tapped and attacking. So the reason why the ninjutsu cost is so much more than the regular cost is that if you ninjutsu it in there, you make a copy of something that's also attacking. And you get a whole bunch more damage in there, hopefully, and you win the game. That's pretty nice. Actually, you know what? Yeah, you definitely get a direct attack with that, because this would be... You would be doing that after attackers or after blockers are declared, likely. But before damage. You can also do after damage, but still in the battle area. Still in like the combat phase. But hey, who am I to tell you how to live your life? Yeah, not bad at all. And you get to keep the token as well. Yeah, you do. Very, very good card. Very good. You play it early to trigger ninjutsu later on. Because there's a 1-mana 1/1 flyer. So yeah, you're probably going to be attacking fine. Attacking pretty well. You play it later to copy something big. And let's see. It doesn't even have to be attacking creature you control, although it should be because you're attacking with this, so that'd be really weird if you're attacking during your opponent's turn. Yeah. Like 3 out of 5, 3.5 out of 5 limited. And I would say 3 out of 5 in standard. Maybe this will actually be okay. And we did it, thank goodness. My voice needs a rest. Thank you so much for staying with me through all of that. I hope you really did enjoy the review. Feel free to let me know what your thoughts are, what your thoughts are. That's why I gotta go to sleep. My words, I'm starting to not word too good. But yeah, let me know what you thought down below. Stay tuned. We're gonna have some gameplay. We're gonna do more reviews. I'm gonna sleep first, then do more reviews, and it's gonna be great. I am pretty hyped for this set. So without further ado, good night or good morning, depending on where you are in the world. But as always, good luck.